Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're wrestling with something. Well, it's a bit of a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
How can these established institutions, the ones often telling us to be careful with AI, warning about bias and dangers, how can they be secretly, or maybe not so secretly, using that exact same tech for huge amounts of content creation? And cheaply, too.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a real conflict between their official stance and what they actually need to do.
It really does, but maybe it's less of a paradox and more a sign of things to come, a kind of blueprint for adoption. Look, our mission today is super practical. We're focusing on one specific case study based on the sources you've dug up. We're going to unpack the exact workflow the Volusia County Public Library used. And they didn't just dip their toes in. No, they generated an entire library of specialized stuff using, well, mostly free AI tools. It's quite something.
And the background makes it even more interesting. Libraries, like loads of places right now, they see AI as this double-edged sword. So that's how it's described. They get the potential right, the mind-blowing ways it could boost their programs. But they're also really aware of the dark side, the risks, accuracy, IP issues, all that. And Volusia County, apparently they were initially on the fence, which makes their story, well, potentially a roadmap for others feeling hesitant.
Right. Let's start with why they did this. It wasn't just playing with tech. They set up this really valuable community program, the Acuity Business Pass. The idea was to give small business owners, local entrepreneurs, solid resources for research, market analysis, basically help them make better decisions.
And they already had some material, didn't they? Like videos of seminars.
They did, yeah. In-person seminars recorded on video. But that's quite passive, isn't it?
Exactly. Static recordings. Well, they weren't really hitting the mark. They needed something, as the source says, more dynamic, something portable people could listen to easily, like a podcast series.
And here's the really smart part, the bit that let them move forward even with that institutional caution. The library itself didn't actually do the AI production work. They acted as the content experts, providing all the original stuff, transcripts, notes, video scripts, everything. But they hired a third-party provider to handle the AI side of things.
Ah, okay. So if they were on the fence, this let them kind of sidestep the issue internally. They outsourced the risk, essentially, while still getting the benefits.
Pretty much. If the AI messed up or produced something questionable, the buffer was the contractor, not the library directly.
Smart. A clever bit of risk management.
Exactly. It was an institutional strategy. It let them boost their services quickly without having to formally approve or take direct responsibility for using generative AI within their own walls. They kept control of the source material, but outsourced the production method.
And did it work? What were the results?
Oh, yeah, it worked. The project created their whole entire library of podcasts for the Acuity Business Pass. And since they launched it back in May 2025, the series has racked up over 500 downloads and listens.
Okay, 500 listens. Now, some might think that's not a huge number in the grand scheme of podcasts.
True, but you have to remember the audience here. This isn't a mainstream pop culture podcast. It's super specific content for entrepreneurs in one county needing detailed business info.
Yeah.
So 500 targeted listens on that kind of high-value content, that's actually solid engagement. It shows the approach worked.
Right. Context is key. And that success really leads us to the core of this deep dive. How on earth did they manage this fast, high-volume production without, the usual massive costs? Studio time, voice actors, producers, that all adds up. This workflow sounds, well, incredibly efficient.
It really is. And the main engine, the piece that makes it all possible, was introduced through a regional library network, AETAN. It's Google's Notebook LM.
Notebook LM. And that's free.
It's completely free, yeah. This tool is the real game changer here. What it does is take the library's seminar notes or transcripts, that dense information, and turns it into a conversation, an audio file with two distinct, pretty realistic-sounding voices talking back and forth.
Hold on, you said realistic. The source mentioned something specific here. Breaths, pauses, vocal variations, and even the stakes. The AI deliberately adds imperfections. Why?
That's the fascinating bit. Think about it. If an AI just reads text perfectly, it sounds, well, robotic. Artificial. To make it sound more natural, more engaging, the program actually adds those little human touches. A slight pause like someone's thinking, an audible breath, maybe even a tiny stutter. It tricks your brain into hearing a real chat.
Wow. Okay, so they basically eliminate the need for hiring voice actors or booking studio time, usually the biggest podcast expense, with a free tool that fakes being human. That's where the cost saving really hits home. A traditional studio might charge thousands for an hour of finished audio. They're doing the core generation for $0.
Exactly. That $0 tool makes the basic content, but you still want it to sound professional, right? You need that polish, and that's where the next tool comes in, Envato.
Okay, Envato. This is where the subscription cost kicks in.
Correct. It's not free, but it's cheap, around $16.50 a month.
Hmm.
And Envato provides the audio dressing, the soundscape. They used it for AI narration. It has like 24 different voices, accents, languages even. Plus, crucially, loads of license-free music, sound effects, stock media, so they could add professional intros, outros, maybe some sound effects to break things up. Makes the whole thing sound properly produced.
So free core content, then about $17 a month for the professional sheen.
Huh?
But what about editing? Even AI isn't perfect, right? There must be a human step.
Absolutely. That's where Audacity comes in.
Ah, good old Audacity. Free, open source.
Yep, free recording studio software. Even with the AI trying to sound real, you still need a human ear. Maybe Notebook LM put in a pause that's just awkwardly long, or, like the source said, an ill-placed laugh that doesn't quite fit. So a human uses Audacity to clean that up, tweak the timing, smooth things out, apply that final quality check. The human isn't creating from scratch, they're editing, curating, verifying.
Okay, makes sense. Free generation, cheap polish, free editing software. Then you need to get it out there. Distribution.
And for that, they used Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout, another familiar name. Free option available there too.
They use the free service, yes. Buzzsprout basically acts as the host. It pushes the finished podcast out to all the major platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, you name it, dozens of them. So look at that stack. Free. $16.50 a month. Free. It just shows high-quality, large-scale content is suddenly within reach for almost anyone.
It's a really compelling workflow. But the sources mentioned a challenge that came up, didn't they? Something about citations.
Yes, and this is a big one, especially for an institution like a library that cares about accuracy and knowledge provenance. Source citation.
Why was that an issue? I mean, didn't the library provide the original source material? The seminar notes and stuff?
They did provide the initial input, but the problem comes from how the generative AI, like Notebook LM, actually creates the conversation. When it's synthesizing the dialogue, it might draw on its vast training data, potentially thousands of external sources to supplement or phrase things, but then in the final output, it might only link to a few of those sources, or maybe none at all.
Ah, I see. So the end result might be factually accurate, drawing on good info, but you can't easily trace where every bit of info came from. It's like the AI did the research but forgot half its footnotes.
Exactly like that. And for a library putting out educational resources, that's a problem. The source materials stress that they cited sources when possible, but the big takeaway, the strong recommendation is you have to cite your sources whenever possible. It's about transparency, trust. And it really highlights why that human editor doing verification is still so critical. You need someone checking that stuff.
That idea of human verification, this is where the conversation gets really interesting, moving beyond just this library case study. The source author tied this directly to the future of work, didn't they? Some pretty bold predictions.
They did. If you connect this kind of efficient AI process to the bigger picture, well, the sources mentioned a specific prediction. The prediction was that AI could eventually reduce the human workweek down to just one single day within about 25 years. And what would you do on that one day? You'd spend it verifying the work your AI assistants did the rest of the week.
25 years. Okay, that still feels somewhat distant for a lot of people. Gives time to adjust. But the author who wrote up this case study, they didn't just report that prediction, did they? They had their own take.
A much stronger take. Yeah, they flat out disagreed with the 25-year timeline. Their personal view, having seen how effectively tools like Notebook LM and Envato can work together now, was that 25 years is way too conservative. They predicted this massive shift, this one-day work week, could happen in more like 10 years.
Wow, 10 years. That's a dramatic acceleration. That suggests the curve is getting incredibly steep very quickly. So what does that verification day look like then? If AI is doing almost everything, is it just checking citations?
It's more than just citations, I think. It's shifting our role from doing to directing and validating. Think about the library editor using Audacity. They weren't writing the script. They were checking tone, flow, fixing awkward bits. In that future one-day week, you'd be verifying the AI's critical inputs, making sure the source data is sound, checking that the output aligns with your strategy or brand, and applying that crucial human judgment. Is this the right content? Does it achieve the goal? The AI generates, the human verifies purpose and quality. So, okay, wrapping this up. What does it all mean for you listening right now? This Volusia County Library example, it's powerful. It's a real-world blueprint. It shows that even cautious institutions can find ways, like using third parties, to jump on these new technologies much faster than you might think.
Yeah, we saw the whole chain. Notebook LM making realistic audio, even faking mistakes. And Votto adding the professional sound for pennies. Audacity for that essential human touch-up, all feeding into Buzzsprout for free distribution. And the result?
Yep.
A successful community resource proving this low-cost, high-volume model works.
And that leaves us with a final thought, maybe something a bit provocative, tying back to that prediction. If a public library, an organization not typically known for being on the bleeding edge of tech adoption, could create an entire library of specialized podcasts this quickly using this process, what tasks are you still doing manually day in, day out in your professional life, tasks that maybe, just maybe, an AI could handle, leaving you just that one day for strategic verification? Something to think about as you look towards your own future work week